I have a very long time friend of mine, almost like a sister. I know this time we went somewhere like for an excursion, because we don't normally have those special days. And they took me away and asked me, how is it that you have done all this, but so many people do things and they fail? And that was an opportunity for me to share my faith. That it's not been about me, but there's something I believe I cannot touch it, but I was chosen for a certain purpose that it's just unraveling before my eyes. But all this that you see that has happened in my life, all the struggles that you saw, I believe were leading me to this. Because in a light moment, she had to take me aside and ask me, but how do you do this? It's something you can't explain. I really cannot explain this story called Afros Mo. I cannot explain it. But I don't even know that we have embedded it, because God is
He's flowing in the network there.
oh yeah, like
Everywhere.
we don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. And for me, I cannot explain it. We can't.
Now, how about for you? What does God mean to you in your faith?
For me, God is my guide. Over time, I've realized nothing I do that he doesn't already know. So I've come out of this space where I think I'm the driver of my life, I have come to a place of rest where I know, like, he guides my footsteps, really, as the Bible says. And if I think this is my life and I'm the driver of my life, then I am kidding myself, because everything that has happened in our lives till today, even where I live in the States, the times when maybe I'll give you this story just to get the understanding of where I realized that, oh, wait a minute, this is not my life, I'm not even in charge of this thing called life. I think we've been in a certain place, like where we live, for the longest time, and I've always wanted us to move to a different place. But I kind of like, I've been on my husband's case, like, we need to move. And where we live, it's very cold. It's rural, but and there's nothing much going on, that's for sure. But then come to think about it, there's a reason why we are in that space. And I realized, I'm like, okay, I've been asking this man to move, so we move. But I realize he's here for purpose. He's a physician, and that area needs physicians. Physicians don't want to stay there. So I'm like, I've been thinking about myself, but we are here for a longer time because God needs him to be here. And then I looked at myself. I'm like, when I came into this place, I thought, okay, we're just here for a contract, 3 years and we'll be out of here. So I was on my countdown, and it's been 11 years since. And then at some point, I'm like, God, you knew this before I did. You knew it's not going to be 3 years. It's going to be 11 years, and I don't know how long now. So I think for me, God, though I see God, like, he guides my footsteps, and that's the real thing. So I've learned to just settle in life and just wait for him, wait on him. I know, it all, yeah.
So it went from a simple idea, an experience, turned into a business guided by God, a whole journey that you've had. But people don't realize you're serious business people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not in a small way.
Not in a small way.
Do you remember your first customer?
Oh, yes.
Tell me that story.
Yes, I do remember our first customer. I think this was when we were in a small space that we had a water tank. And even before that small space, we had a boutique that our mom ran, because she would send clothes from the States, and our mom would keep the boutique while I went to the bank to work. And when I was off, and maybe in the evenings, I would go, but also I would get the clothes and take them to all my bank colleagues, So business had already started somewhere. And So for all the customers I had, and this is what would happen, I would book in somebody, like if I have lunch time, so I would have an hour. So I remember the first customer, I booked them in, I think it was an hour. They needed to do, I think, finger coils. And I'd never really done finger coils, but I would say I cannot fail, go study, and then say, let's book in. Okay, so I booked the first customer in the boutique. And then I did the finger coils. I recall she came with her husband. I remember that customer so well.
Do you remember her name?
Peace. Peace. Yes, it was Peace.
Starting a business must have gone with a lot of the skeptics as well, the naysayers, the people who said you can't do it. Tell me about those people in your lives, and perhaps not just the naysayers. Have you yourself been your own naysayer to your own business?
I think what I would say about that, like from the start, natural hair was not something Ugandans were ready for at that time. So it had a bit of stereotype, going natural means you're broke. If you're married, you're having issues in your marriage. It had a bit of stereotype, and people are not comfortable being natural.
Sorry, you just said
yes.
If you're not natural, you have issues in your marriage.
Yes, like you're either broke or you definitely going through something, and it was not something of class. Yeah, it was looked down on, being natural. But so when we came, nobody really believed in it. But thank God, me living in the United States of America, I've come to believe that, I think being in that environment teaches you that anything is possible. Whatever you put your mind to, you can do. So at least we came in, at least with her, I knew it would work. If this is an area where there's need, because she was telling me, people stop on the street, hey, why did you do your hair? So that means there's need. So being in America taught me that, okay, when there's need, then get into that need and definitely you'll have your customer. I think, Victoria, if you looked at me, okay, you don't know me, but those that know me, perhaps they didn't know me well, God knew me better. Nobody would believe that I would do what I have been able to do. And I think at the time when I was saying I am quitting, I'm leaving the bank, everybody was worried for me because they did not think it was within me even to succeed. And I don't blame them. I don't judge them. But there was, I don't know, I think there was a covering around me that people could not see me. I struggled so much that people could see me. Within me, I would say, but I can do this. But I think there was a covering that people could just not see. So when I threw in the towel, I think my manager at that time really sat me down and said, but are you sure of what you are doing? Business is not easy. And at that time, I was going through a patch in my life where I really needed a stable job. This was crazy. What I was doing was literally crazy. And I would understand when everybody was skeptical about it. I would understand because amongst everyone that needed to be grounded on job, that was me. And I'm bringing this crazy idea. I'm going to start something new. What is it? It's my natural hair. Who is going to do kaweki? Who is going to do that hair? Maggie, are you crazy? So I remember my manager was very worried. She was also my manager, but also my friend. She knew my personal story and my personal struggles at that time. And so I said, you know what? I have my experience. Should I fail? I'll bounce back. But I need to try. She said, oh my God, you have guts. And I'm like, let me just go try. And then my uncles, as she said, they're already in business.
Yeah.
And I think they told my mom, we need to talk to the girl. She has a stable job. This is the bank. She should stay. We need to talk to her. And my mom tells me, please, before you make the decision, your uncles need to talk to you. Whatever you want to start is not simple.
Yeah. I mean, by the time your African parents are sending you...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And so And so what happens, I tell my mom, I know because they are going to tell me no, I will not go. She says, but my girl, you're so stubborn. Why don't you go listen? I said, Mommy, because they're going to tell me something negative. Yeah. So what if I go and do something different? Okay? So my mom gave up on me. And at that moment, my friends were having, like fast forward, they told me. But they told me at that time, they had a meeting to get one of them and come and put some sense in my head. Because whatever I was thinking was just a bad idea. And I think they didn't come because I was very, very, it was not easy to get into my skin. So they did not, but they confessed that they literally sat and spoke about somebody that needed to come and talk to me. Okay? So, and also my colleagues, I think the first little salon we had, our first employee always tells me, your colleagues would come in when you're not around. They would come in, and then I would hear them say, is this the place she has come to? Can you imagine? How can you leave the bank and then come to here, work in a salon? Okay, let's watch and see. So they would come also to see what I'm doing, but they would look at it and it was so small, like it didn't not make sense, Maybe it's something like you have like a side hustle. And of course, it didn't have customers like the traffic that we have right now. And nobody would believe that we could even get to this point. Not that even we judge them, we don't judge them, but God saw something beyond. And I think that's what God does, that when he lifts something, everybody's amazed. So for me, my sister and her husband, I think at that time, believed so much in my ability. They were one of those people they were those two people that believed in my ability. My husband was a support, but perhaps he didn't want to discourage me, but he did not, he's always supporting what I decide to do. But maybe perhaps may not have been a strong believer in what I could possibly be able to do with the responsibility that I would have been given, the believing in me from my sister. And when I had all that, I had some people who believed in me. I had God on my side. I was like, you know what? I'll make it because God is with me.
Absolutely. When you built the business at first, it wasn't just about business. You were able to build a brand and you're able to build a movement for women to be confident with the crown that's on their heads. When you look at the impact that you now are making, would you have thought about it then?
Not in a million years, not in a million years. When we just started something, for her thing to get out of the bank and have more time to herself, because that was a concern in the family. She was working so hard, but still the struggle was real in her life. And they hardly saw her because I was away. They hardly saw her. So I think it was more for her to get that independence, have more time, to have for her family and to herself. So yeah, I would never in a million years have thought it would be.
You also employ a big number of people. You taking care of multiple families in that case.
And we've asked God, my prayer to God is that make me an employer over thousands. So there are times when, the economy is, and then you're like, should I decrease? And then something tells me, always, sorry for the non-believers, but for the believers, you're always spirit-led. I was struggling with productivity and then the numbers of people that we had. But then I had requested the Lord that make me an employee over thousands. However, the difference I did not know is that having employees that are many does not also resolve into productivity. And so when I was torn, because I was like, okay, I don't want to limit you with this, with whichever circumstances, either the economy or anything, because I've asked to be an employee over thousands. I'm still in hundreds, you understand. But in hundreds, I'm thinking of really chopping. And so while I was praying, and to help anybody out there, I was on the road. I was so disturbed. We're going back home, and a big truck comes in front of us. And there's a word that says, "You will know them by their fruits." Whew! I told my husband, "Oh my God, have you seen that?" And then the next came and said, "No weapon that's fashioned against you will prosper." I said, wow. Monday morning, I just told everybody, open your PC. Open. And I got exactly what I was seeking for, because now I was able to look at the fruit, to make a decision on who, either who must leave and who must come in, because the Lord looks also out for productivity. So what I can say is that we could have never, maybe we're the least people that could have ever pulled this off. My mom one day told me, "In all my children, you're the one I never saw."